Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. I'm just so grateful for those who are here. I know you have busy lives and you could be doing a lot of different things, but we're grateful that you're here and chose to be here. This presentation is called Plugged In Parents. We're going to go over a lot of technology safety and tips. And I would love for you to jump in at any time and ask questions. Looks like we're kind of a small group, so feel free to jump in whenever you want. And also you can use the chat box to ask a question as well. So my name is Anjanae Merida. I'm one of the school counselors at the school. I've been there. This is my fourth school year there, and I just love all of your kids. I get to go into the classrooms and teach social and emotional learning, and it's just been a joy to get to know your kids. And from what I know of them, let me just tell you, you're doing a good job. There's some really good kids at George Washington Academy. So I also want to introduce another school counselor that was hired this year. Her name is Christine Staples. And raise your hand, Christine, so they can see you. There she is. So we love having Christine. We actually have 2 full-time school counselors and 1 full-time school social worker. And a question we get asked a lot is, are you guys, like, do you have enough work to do? And let me just tell you, the answer is yes, with 100 exclamation points, right, Christine? There is a lot of work. So, but one of the main reasons that we do parent nights is because we want to make sure parents know that we are partners, right? We want to be your partner. We want to let you know that we're here to support you. And if you have any questions or any concerns about your students, we're always willing and open to phone calls, to emails, to in-person visits. We are here to support you in whatever you need. So again, thank you for being here, and let's just get started. Let's jump in. So last year I did a survey just to kind of see what parents want us to talk about in these parent nights. And one of the topics that came up a lot was technology safety. And so I knew that we had to cover this during the school year, this topic. So I was able to find these slides, and it was like, it was just there ready to be used on commonsense.org, which is an amazing organization that is dedicated to media safety for kids. And so I would encourage you to use the website commonsense.org. It's there on that first slide. And if you have any questions or want to do follow-up on some of the things we talk about today, commonsense.org is the place to look that up. So, all right. So one thing that I don't know, I think we all have in common is that we're afraid that technology is going to ruin our kids, right? We're afraid that they might be living unbalanced lives, that they might be exposed to unsafe things on the internet. So we're going to try to, and those are legitimate fears and legitimate concerns. So we're definitely going to address those concerns, and we're going to talk about what you can do as a parent to keep your kids safe. But we're also going to talk about the potential benefits of media. But before we do that, we're going to watch a little video that kind of gives a little snapshot into the life of one of these kids that was born with a smartphone in their hand. So here we go.
My name is Justin. I'm 9.5, and I have an iPad, a computer. I also use my mom's phone sometimes. I watch TV and I listen to Sonos. Well, I usually have my media time on the weekends only. And I usually play maybe an hour in the morning. Then I might have 30 minutes watching TV. Then I might have breakfast.
My name is Lauren. I'm 11 years old, and the devices we have in our home are the family iPad, the TV, my phone, the Wii, and my laptop. On weekends, I watch TV. I think I spend the most time on my phone, either playing games or texting my friends. I started using Instagram in 6th grade. One of the things I like about Instagram is that I can see what my friends are doing, and I look at the things that my friends post and post things of my own sometimes, and all of my friends have Instagram.
I usually play Minecraft a lot because you could find ingredients and build something with your own stuff. If I didn't have my media time, I would probably feel kind of sad, and I probably would feel mad that I didn't get it.
Okay, so as you can see, and I'm sure from our own experiences, we know that our kids are on screens a lot, right? And I'm going to pose a question here, and I'd like for you to answer in the chat. And then Christine, if you could just tell me some of the answers, that would be great. So the first question is, what are your biggest concerns about digital media? So go ahead and put your answer in the chat. Okay, I can see one. Okay, I can read them, Christine. So there's one that says unhealthy comparison to content, what to allow them to view and play, and what not to, addiction to media. Kids won't get the social experiences they need because they'll use up free time on screens, that it will replace developing healthy relationships, accidental viewing of pornography. Yeah, so these, oh, let's do one more. Violence and watching overage things. So maybe, okay, watching more than you should maybe is what they were saying. Yeah, these are, oh, overage, thank you. So yes, so many legitimate fears and concerns, right? So many things that are frightening, and rightly so. Here's another question I want to pose to you. You can go ahead and answer in the chat. What are some of digital media's strengths? Go ahead and put your answer in the chat. Education, okay. Education resources, ease of communication and connection with others, so yes, let's see. So one says, I think not many. It feels like media is replacing social interactions, but there is the ability to Skype with grandparents who are far away. Okay. Yep, I can see that. So overall, if you're worried about doing it right, you're probably not doing it wrong. So I just want you as parents who are here tonight to know that you showing up to this means you're doing a good job. So I'm just very, very grateful that you're here. But I want the question, the answer, the question that we need to ask, I think, is more this one, right? How do we use media in balance as a family? How do we find quality content, set expectations around healthy use to prevent conflict, and raise media savvy consumers and creators? So one thing we often talk about in our school as part of the Leader in Me curriculum is what is in our circle of control. And so that's what we're going to focus on tonight is what, as parents, what do we have control over? And I want you to know that it's not easy. And I almost feel like a hypocrite teaching on this subject because it is so difficult. It's so difficult to find that balance. And it is a constant battle. It can be. Okay. So it is all about the balance. And I think, like I was saying, like it's a constant battle. Recently, I noticed, especially over spring break, because we didn't go anywhere for vacation or over spring break. I noticed my kids were on their screens a lot more. And so I decided, you know what, I need to be intentional about getting them into things that they will do that are healthy, that are not screens. So I signed them up for soccer, signed them up for dance classes, signed them up for other things. But even then, like it can be difficult, right? So these are some things to ask yourself. Is my child physically healthy and sleeping enough? Is my child connecting socially with family and friends in any form? Is my child engaging with and achieving in school? Is my child pursuing interests and hobbies in any form? Is my child having fun learning? And, oh yeah, okay, that's the last one. So there's no research that nails down the exact right amount of time kids can be on screens. But we can use these questions on this slide to kind of gauge if they're doing it, if they're using it too much, right? If it's getting in the way of their development, right? So basically, if they're using screens as one part of their lives, but they're getting exercise, they're eating well, and being social, then things are going to be okay, right? That just says that there's balance in their lives. Okay. So there are some overall guiding principles that can take some of the worry and like headache out of parenting around tech use. So first, it's important when you can to use and watch with your kid. And this is not always easy, right? To find the time to do. But that way you can discuss and explain things in the moment to them and you can connect it to real life in that moment as well. Plus it's great bonding time, right? It's always good to bond with your kids in that close physical way. Also, you want to make sure that you and your partner are on the same page, and know your own rules, right? So oftentimes, like, my husband will create this limit with technology, and I have no idea that he created this limit. And so I let my kids like go on their iPad when I didn't know that he grounded them for whatever reason. So you want to make sure that you're on the same page when it comes to expectations and limits. Have clear expectations. And you can rehearse this with your kids, right? Like, you can play on this device until you hear the timer go off. When you hear this sound, flip the cover shut, let's practice, right? So it's okay to have those expectations, and it's okay to follow through with those expectations. And it's okay for your kids to throw a tantrum when you follow through with those expectations. So I know I'm not the only one that has experienced this in real life, right? Like, I'll take a device away, they throw a tantrum, but throwing a tantrum is not a reason for them to get the device back, right? Another thing is encourage creativity, not just consumption, right? So if your kids want to create a video, right, maybe create one with them. It can be used to encourage creativity. And a lot of kids get into coding, right? There's a lot of opportunities in our community to have kids learn more about coding and digital technology. And also, it's never too early to talk about digital citizenship. That's what's appropriate online. How do you behave online? And what to do if something upsetting happens, right? If something dangerous happens, if they feel unsafe online, it's okay to talk about those things, even when they're young, right? We want to make sure that they know what's safe and what's not safe. And finally, I think this one, is kind of the hardest one for me to swallow, is be a good role model yourself as a parent, right? Our kids see what we do. And they're just like little baby chicks, right? They will follow our lead. So if they see that we are not following our household technology rules, well, then they'll definitely bring it up, right? They'll say, Mom, you want me to follow these rules, but you're not following them, right? So it's important to be a good role model. All right. So since most kids are using some form of technology, right, every day, what do you want them to get out of digital media? So go ahead and put your answer in the chat box. I would love to see what your responses are. Okay, a lot of putting learning. Okay. Good. So most of you are saying education and learning of some kind. Okay. Perfect. So ultimately, they're not, I mean, this is part of our lives. This is going to be part of their lives, right? And so it is about teaching them how and what to consume when they are on the screens. Okay, So it's okay to be choosy, right? It's okay to say no to certain types of media. So there is the wonderful thing about this day and age is there is a lot of good media, right? There's probably more good media now than there was when we were kids, right? And there's a lot of good media that won't mess them up, okay? So one thing I want to just point out is that it's important to know and to understand the appropriateness as far as like, is it appropriate for their developmental age? What are they ready for? So when you choose media, think about, are they teaching kids to be mean, right? Is it scary? Is it showing violence? Does it have sexual innuendos? Is the humor appropriate for their age? Does it have substances? What about the advertising? Is there swearing? Is there accessibility to other more mature audience programs? So on commonsense.org, they have an amazing resource where you can literally just put in age appropriate media for, let's say you have an 8-year-old, and it'll just come up with all of the programs that are appropriate for 8-year-olds. So you don't even have to be guessing anymore about what's appropriate. You can just use this resource and it'll show and tell you. Okay. And they also on commonsense.org will tell you whether something's educational or not. So again, commonsense.org is a great tool. Okay. So watching television with young children or co-viewing has actually been associated with a range of positive outcomes, including learning letters and numbers, right? So research has shown that parent interaction during an ebook is also helping kids understand the content better, okay? And kids can learn from and empathize with characters, which can lead to positive outcomes, okay? And healthier food choices, right? And it also can increase math and science skills. So, I mean, there's so much research that has been done on positive media that, you know, when we do select that positive media, it can have a benefit. So let's go to the next slide. So at around age 8, right, as kids get older, they kind of want more independence and they start to develop their own relationships to tech and media. So instead of just watching and playing what you choose for them, they have more opinions, right? Mom, I don't want to watch that. I want to watch this. And a lot of kids want to play things like Minecraft, Roblox, that kind of thing that are more creative and involve some kind of connection with other kids. So one of the risks of those is that some of them have chat capabilities, right? And so there are some cases, right? Although they're extreme and really extreme cases of predators kind of being in those chat boxes, more often than not, your kids aren't there. What happens is they will come in contact with other kids who aren't very kind, right? And we'll try to kind of talk down to them. So it's important to talk to kids about this, right? If they're in the chat box and they're feeling like they're getting bullied, cyber bullied, talk about them that ahead of time. How could they respond? Are there maybe protections you could put on with the chat, right? Could you take chat away? So it's always good before they do any kind of game or any kind of video game or computer game, right? Make sure you know what the capabilities are. Are they able to chat with strangers, or are they just able to chat with friends? Okay, so what was most important to you as a tween? Friends, family, fitting in, self-expression, or all of the above? Go ahead and answer in the chat. So this is like 9 to 12-ish. What was most important to you as a tween? Okay, I see a lot of friends, fitting in, friends. Friends, okay, yep. So you're exactly right. So at this age, developmentally, most kids value their peers and their peers' opinions over family, right? They want to fit in. And so and to be honest, like we weren't as that different from the kids today, right? The struggle was real for our parents too. We wanted to hang out with friends. We wanted to be on I remember being on the phone for hours and hours and hours. Back when it was like a landline that you had a really long cord. So I had to like pull it into my room and like lock the door. But yeah. So, but that's their age, right? They want to be with friends. So it's not that different today. They want the same things we did, but the only difference is that devices have altered what they look like. So my son, he's 11, he just turned he's 11 and a half. He just got his first phone, and it was interesting because I feel like that is one of the ways that kids are social nowadays, is through texting. And so he is now like texting like nonstop, right? Because he's now able to communicate with his friends. And one thing I've noticed as well, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is that there are a lot of tweens who don't have maybe the same limits that I impose upon my son. So they're texting up until like 1 or 2 in the morning. I know because I take my son's phone, and I can like hear it dinging, and then I check it in the morning, and sure enough, like they were texting at all hours of the night. And so we're going to talk a lot about how it's okay to put limits, how it's okay to take their phones at certain times. And most importantly, how it's okay to be a parent and say no, especially for their health and for their development. Okay, but I think this is this is a quote from one of the kids that was surveyed by one of the Common Sense Media focus groups. They said, adults don't get it. They think I'm addicted to technology, but I'm not. I'm addicted to my friends. So that's what I meant by saying, it's a social thing for them, right? It's the way that they communicate with their friends. Instead of being on a landline and being, on a corded phone or a cordless phone, they're now on their cell phones. Okay. So ultimately, we can't ever tell them, like, we won't be able to tell them like you can never use technology, because that's just not realistic, right? Because that's the day and age that we live in. Everything is we're surrounded by technology, and they'll have to learn how to use it. But we can be their training wheels, right? We can help them know what not to do, and we can arm them with the tools as they interact online. So it's important to like start that conversation, and continue the conversation, right? This is not just a one-time, okay, before I give you this phone, these are the rules, and then you stop having the conversation. This is an ongoing dialogue that you have. And I think it's important to let them know the reason you have limits, right? They always want to know the why. They always want to know, but mom, why do I have to turn in the phone? And so I tell them, I said, for your health, because you have a growing brain and you have a growing body, and you need sleep. That's just what you need to be able to grow and be healthy. And we also talk about safety, because I want to keep you safe, because it's dangerous. There's some things that are dangerous out there. And they're like, but you don't trust me. No, I trust you. I just don't trust other people. So I want to keep you safe. Okay, so a phone, to buy or not to buy. This is a really hard question that I grappled with for a long time with my 11-year-old. The average age that kids are getting smartphones now is about 10 in the United States. And 75% of kids aged 12 to 17 have a smartphone. So if most of the kids do have a smartphone, like 6th and 7th graders do have a smartphone. For those who haven't taken the plunge but are getting like harassed on the regular, like I was, like, mom, I want a phone. Mom, when am I getting a phone? Mom, when am I? And it's just really hard. But you ask yourself these questions. Do your kids show a sense of responsibility, right? Such as, do they let you know when they're leaving the house and when they'll be back? Okay, that shows responsibility. Do they show up when they say they will? Do your kids tend to lose things like backpacks or homework folders? If so, expect that they probably might lose an expensive phone too, right? Do your kids need to be in touch for safety reasons? Would having easy access to friends benefit them for social reasons? Do you think they'll use cell phones responsibly, like not texting during class or disturbing others with phone conversations? Can they follow your limits? Can they follow your expectations? And will they use text, photo, and video functions responsibly, not to embarrass or harass others? So these are just guiding questions, right? If you are considering getting your child a phone, these questions might be helpful in that way in deciding. So what are the kids doing anyway? Okay, so they did a poll of what boys do and what girls do on social media and on gaming. And it's pretty interesting. So you saw some stats earlier in the opening video that I showed that tweens use an average of 6 hours of entertainment media each day. That might mean like an hour of social media and an hour of television happening at the same time. But research does confirm that there is a bit of a gender gap among teens' online and gaming behaviors. So girls dominate social media, as you can see in the slide there. And though they are a little bit less active in gaming, girls do access games. In another report, 59% of teen girls reported that they do play video games, Overall, though, while social media and gaming are popular, TV, videos, and music are still the most used forms of media. Okay. Any questions yet? Okay, I'll just keep going. You guys can jump in anytime with questions. Myth or truth? So I want you guys to answer this in the chat box if you can. Social media alienates kids. Do you think it's a myth or a truth? Okay, I'm getting a lot of truth. I got one myth. Alienates them from other kids? Yes, that's the question. Alienates them from other kids. Truth. Okay, there's another false. Undecided. Okay. So it is a myth, and I'll tell you why. So it really just depends too, right? So social media can actually strengthen relationships. So it can be used to do good in the world. It really just depends on how they use it. Okay. So my kids, well, my oldest is really interested in social justice work, and she uses it to kind of advocate for the causes that are important to her. And there's other kids who have her, have interests in certain things like sports or dance or art. And so it really does. It just depends on how they use it. So most kids who use it are just having fun. 57% of teens have made new friends online. 84% of boys who play networked games with friends feel more connected when they play online. And 68% of teen social media users have had online friends support them through tough or challenging times. So it's a little bit of a different world nowadays. Our kids are building friendships over online media. So just, I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't know, what it is, but it is happening, right? All right, so 57% of all teens, oh yeah, I already said this. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the next one. Oh, okay, I have a chat. Okay, this is a good question. Why can't children build friendships at the park? Absolutely they can, right? There's lots of ways to build friendships. And like I said, I don't think like there's a right or wrong way to build friendships, but this kind of just gives us a glimpse into the fact that this is how kids are being social. A lot of kids are being social nowadays. Okay. So these are some of the social media apps that kids are using, but they left out a very big one, which is TikTok. This was back in 2018 that they made these slides. So I feel like there's always something new, right? There's always a new app that is coming out. And it's always important to keep up with those apps as parents. And again, Common Sense Media is a great website to research these apps and find out what the kids use, how the kids use them, and whether they're safe or not. And so one research report said that 71% of teens are using more than one social media platform. And a lot of kids might not actively be posting some on these apps, but they are reading and watching what other people are doing. Back in 2018, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook were the most popular but I would say TikTok is probably the most popular right now. We recommend that if your kid is on one of these social media apps, you should probably be on them too, right? So you can, and kids are clever, right? They'll kind of find workarounds or try to, I don't know, but they're clever. So you have to be very careful about the settings. For my 11-year-old, I have just said no to social media, right? I think that it's a personal decision that you have to talk about with as parents, right? Before you decide whether it's allowed for your kids or not. But for me personally, I did not think that my son was mature enough to handle social media at this time. Okay, I see that might be a question. Okay, all right. So someone was just answering the question, why can't children build friendships at the park? Because other kids aren't being social at the park. Some still are, mine are. I think it is our responsibility to change that. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of kids, because they're so consumed by media, right? They're just spending a lot of time on screens. They are kind of losing that natural ability to make friends. And so, yeah, sometimes we do have to step in as parents and kind of teach them how to make friends, right? It's certainly not something that can happen overnight. It's something that definitely takes time and it takes opportunities. So in our last newsletter, Bryn Bell, who's our social worker, wrote an article about the importance of setting up play dates. And kids need that in-person social interaction. And so, yeah, as parents, we can take on that responsibility. We can help them set up play dates with their friends. Definitely. So important. Okay. So I think it's important to be aware that we may not be able to keep up with all of the changing popular apps that are out there. But it is important to know the red flags of the social media apps, okay? So the first red flag would be, is it age inappropriate, right? Are there things that your 5-year-old should not be watching? Yes, okay. Things that we can control are public default settings. When you share something, does it automatically go out to all users unless you change the setting? Some apps are meant to connect with friends and some with the world. So it's important to go through those settings to make sure they're not connected to the entire world, right? Location tracking and sharing. Does the app track your location? Why does it track your location? Does it share your location with others? Is there a way to opt out of location tracking? Some apps offer features that allow teens to share their location, and some are location based, which means they connect users to people close by. So make sure you know about those settings as well. Real-time video streaming. Is live streaming a feature? Why and how do people use it? What are your rules around sharing personal info and taking risks just to get viewers? A lot of live streaming is mundane and tame, but it's easy to share social media info and other personal information with anonymous viewers. So sometimes kids also do things that they wouldn't do just to get more views and follows, right? Okay, ads and in-app purchases, temporary pics. So this is kind of like the Snapchat that was popular. They would take a picture and it would just kind of go away, right? They were temporary pics. Subpar reporting. Is it easy to report and flag inappropriate content? Many apps make it very obvious how to report. But it's important to know how to do that and show your kids how to do that if they feel that something has happened that shouldn't have happened. Anonymity, is being anonymous a big part of the app? Sometimes that can be a big red flag, right? When people feel like they're anonymous, maybe they will do things they wouldn't have done if they weren't anonymous. Cyberbullying, negative culture. What's the overall feel of the app? Are people on the app to have fun and connect, or are they being cruel? Are they rating others? What are they doing? Yeah, so some apps are bad news right out of the gate because you can tell just by that negative feel like they're putting people down, they're being judgmental. Definitely not a good app for especially these very sensitive tweens and teens who really hold on to that pure feedback. Okay, so it's really hard for kids to think about their future selves, right? I'm going to check the chat really quick because it looks like we have. Okay, it says, did the study qualify what making friends on social media means? And that is a good question. No, it did not, but not in the notes that I have, but I can definitely look it up. Do they ever meet their new friend in person? Do they really know they're talking to a kid versus talking to an internet predator? Yeah, exactly, right? So these are all really good questions. I honestly only let my kids talk to friends that they already have. So there's a way on their video games and things like that where they can only talk to people who are approved, right? So yeah, I would never open it up to just anyone. They can talk to anyone, right? It's important to put those protections on. So oftentimes, like the kids, at least that I know, they're able to chat. They just chat with kids that they know from school. So that's what I know of. Says, with my daughter, some of her classmates wanted to chat with her all afternoon. I told Olivia no, and that we could do play dates instead if they wanted to be friends in not afternoon chats. Agreed. I think that is such an important thing. Let's do more in-person play dates, right? 100%. I think that creates more of that balance that we're looking for, definitely. Okay. Slide 21. So it's hard for kids to think about their future selves, but we definitely need to help them think about that, right? So unfortunately, kids and their friends will often share and post things that maybe they regret, right? So it's important to talk to them about this quote unquote digital tattoo. If they post things on social media, or if they text something or a picture or something, they can't ever get it back, right? If it's out there, it's going to be out there for a long time. It's searchable, right? It's things that people can find. 40% of college admissions officers check applicants' social media profiles. Yeah. So that is definitely something that I think every kid, we need to talk to all of our kids about, right? That you need to self-reflect before you self-reveal, right? Okay. Okay, so privacy settings. I'm sure you're all very familiar with privacy settings, but this is kind of just an overview of how to make your account private. And I believe on most apps, this is an option. But I would encourage you to check even on your own devices, like, is my account private? Is my location being tracked? So not just, I mean, obviously check on your children's devices, but check on yours as well, because it's important to know that and how to adjust those. Okay, so we know that apps themselves are like one of the things that we have to worry about, but we also know that, you know, there's online bullies as well, which is really hard. We had bullies growing up too, I'm sure, but sometimes it makes just that anonymity, and also that screen and just the keyboard, like not having the person there with you makes it easier for them to be mean, and it kind of amplifies those effects and can reach real cruelty. The Centers for Disease Control estimate that cyberbullying affects about 15.5% of high school students. For comparison, about 20% of high schoolers experience in-person bullying at school. So as with real life bullying, some kids are easier targets. Girls are bullied more often than boys, and LGBTQ kids and kids with disabilities are also bullied more often. Okay, I'm just gonna look at this chat. Yeah, so Jason writes, I've heard TikTok can change privacy settings without user consent. Not sure if that's true. I'm not sure either. I would recommend that you go onto commonsense.org. I'm going to say that about 1 million times tonight, because they have done the research on all of the apps, and they can tell you everything you need to know about the security and the privacy settings. Okay. So if your kid is being bullied or facing any kind of negative behavior online, first you want to make sure you know how to report it, right? And there's often, if not most times, there's a way to report it in the app. And that's definitely the first line of defense. Another line of defense is peers sticking up for peers. So we encourage, it's called upstanding, standing up for others. And sometimes that'll work. A lot of times it will. It's also recommended that they take screenshots of the negative or bullying behavior and get an adult involved right away, especially obviously if their safety is threatened. Now, if your kid is the culprit, treat it as you would any other negative behavior, obviously giving consequences, limiting online access, and finding a way to make amends. And I'll walk you through some of the resources on the website as well in just a little bit. Okay. So beyond bullies, there are other digital media related worst case scenarios we want our teens to avoid. Okay. So some of those are sexting, visiting sites that encourage harmful behavior, and online predators. But keep in mind, even though bad things can happen, they're actually not the norm. Okay. It's very rare that they happen. Here's some statistics. 20 to 54% of teens have sent or posted nude or semi-nude pictures of themselves. I would say that is a startling number. The second one is most sexy pictures are sent to a significant other. 36% of girls and 39% of boys say nude photos are commonly shared with people other than the intended receiver. So again, it's that digital footprint, right? Talking to our kids about being careful with what they put out there. 51% of girls say they felt pressure from a guy to send sexy pictures. Some teens visit pro-ana cutting and other self-harm sites. 9% of kids get unwanted online sexual solicitations. And 4% of kids have online interactions where a predator attempts to make contact offline. So as teens kind of figure out who they are, they often run into like rough patches, right? There's oftentimes They'll make mistakes, just like many of us did when we were growing up. But the difference now is that social media can make them, like, these vulnerable times even more public, right? So some teens will send like sexy pics to get attention, but those pictures are sometimes shared without them knowing. So it can really lead to this unwanted sexual attention, pressure to share more, and ultimately bullying. So it's super important, like I said before, to talk to your kids about this and the consequences of sharing photos like these. And if they are feeling pressured to share something, a nude or to sext, talk to them about that it's okay to come and tell you, right? It's okay to talk to a trusted adult about this, because it's not okay for them to feel pressured to do something they don't want to do. Okay, my time is almost up, so I am going to just open it up for questions really quick. Let me see. I'm just going to look at the chat and then let's see. Okay, I guess he looked up the information. So TikTok recently changed privacy setting defaults for users under 18 to make the experience safer for younger users. Thank you for sharing that. So if you guys are interested in reading that article, there he shared it. He says, I'm not sure if TikTok is actually that much better for users under 18, but they're claiming it is. Yeah, for sure. It's important just to be safe and do your research on any of the apps that kids are wanting. So I'm just going to go through some of these really quick. Like I said, it's important to have an ongoing conversation with your kids about these topics: internet safety, cyberbullying, digital drama, privacy, digital footprints. All of these things are super important to have. And it's never too early to talk to your kids about all of these, because they're so kind of exposed to it at such a young age, right? Okay. So this is the website I wanted to show you really quick. So they have up here in the corner, you can see there's a tab for parents, and you can literally like go in and just type in whatever you want here. So I'm going to put TikTok. I don't know how to spell it. TikTok. There we go. Okay. So yeah, and so it'll go and kind of explain. It has like lots of videos you can watch about it. It has what parents need to know. But anyway, you can go through, and it even has like what other parents comment on it as well. But literally you can look up anything, right? Movies, TV, books, apps, and games. It has information about all of it. So you can research whatever it is your kids are wanting to consume in the media, and kind of take a more informed approach to this whole thing, right? To technology and digital media used by your kids. Okay, Anne found an article about TikTok. Great, thank you so much for sharing that, Anne. Defend Young Minds is a really awesome website with articles and info on every topic related to digital media and protecting children. Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, so thankfully there's a lot of resources out there for parents. And you're not alone, right? You're not alone in this kind of fight and ongoing battle that we have with our kids and with technology. It does take time, it does take effort. But at the same time, like, if we're not taking that time and that effort, like, there are consequences, right? There are negative consequences. So we, as parents, this has become one of our responsibilities that maybe our parents didn't have to do as much. But that just comes with the territory, with having all of this access to technology now. It's another responsibility that our generation has. Another thing I wanted to mention, and I mentioned it briefly before, but we've had a lot of kids at our school. I wouldn't say a lot, but I'd say a good number of kids at our school who come to school really tired. Really tired. And a lot of them will tell us, yeah, I was up all night on my iPad, or I was on my phone, or things like that. And so I just want to like just re-emphasize the importance of sleep. And I know all parents know that this is important, but it also like the importance of creating those boundaries, right? That it's okay to take the phone, right? It's okay to create those boundaries and limits. Our kids need sleep. Our kids need a break from their phones, from their devices. So I would just hopefully, if you have, hopefully, I bet you've all, those who are attending tonight already have set limits, and but just a reminder that it's important to set those limits. We need the kids to be healthy and ready at school. We need them to be awake. So, but anyway, I just want to thank you guys so much for coming. I really do appreciate your presence. Does anyone have any questions or other comments? Okay, we are 1 minute past our time, so feel free to go. Oh, there's one question. Hold on. Oh, thank you. Thank you for attending. We do have another parent, our last parent night will be next month, the end of the month, and we will be having it in person. I'm excited to announce. So please put it on your calendars. It's the last Monday in April at our school at 7 p.m. Hope to see you there. More information to come. Have a great night.